Hello everyone, welcome to this video and welcome to this channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Courtney. I am an EPIK teacher, meaning I teach elementary school in South Korea. I live in the Jeollabuk-do province and I teach 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So today I'm going to be making a video that you guys requested from the last one, and that is what lesson planning looks like, specifically with EPIK. So I'm actually a first year teacher, so please take all of this with a grain of salt. This is still information that I would have loved to have known before starting EPIK. I know a lot of you guys are in the orientation process right now and about to start your next week. I am keeping that in mind, but for today, I want to put your mind at ease for what lesson planning looks like, especially if you don't have a background in education. So I personally did not have a background in education, and when people talked about lesson planning, this was very elusive for me because I was like, you're setting aside 3-4 different hours a day to lesson plan? Like, what does it mean? So with EPIK, I want to walk you guys through it really quick, really simple. We're going to look at 5 different things. Number 1, lesson planning, what it is, and just a short explanation. Number 2, textbook. Again, what this formatting actually looks like and what's included in the content. Number 3, a look through of the textbook and the formatting of it. Number 4, talking about outside resources. Usually this has to do with activities and games that you do inside the classroom and where to get that material. And number 5, pro tips. I definitely put this in parentheses, but again, these are just things that I wish I would have known. It makes life just a little bit easier. So though I have no authority in saying this, hopefully this advice can help you guys out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this video. So number 1, lesson planning. What is it? Quite simply, as stated, lesson planning is simply planning your lessons. Now, something you want to keep in mind, especially as an EPIK teacher, I've said it, I'll say it 1,000 times, that with EPIK, each experience is different. So one person can have 5 schools, one person can have 1 school. It ranges. But for a lot of us, when we teach with EPIK, that means we're teaching at different schools and also different grades within those schools. So lesson planning, though it does seem pretty easy theoretically, you do have to account for your different schools and your different co-teachers at those schools, their style and what they want you to adapt to in the classroom. But lesson planning time is simply a time to gather your PPTs, your PowerPoints, and then also your activities, merging them together, getting them organized and ready for the next class. Number 2, textbooks. What are they and what do they look like in Korea? So as I said, I will have a textbook look through a little bit later in the video so you can actually get hands-on information of what it exactly looks like. But something worthy of noting is that there are different textbooks in Korea. So I'm going to talk specifically about elementary school because that's honestly the only experience that I have. But there are multiple different textbooks that you can use in elementary school in Korea. So who decides what textbook you use? This is going to be completely dependent on your school. So I work within my province and I continue to work within my city, but each school within the city still chooses which textbook they want to follow, and they are slightly different. For example, one textbook might have 5 different careers, including a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, a teacher, and a dentist. And the other one might have the doctor, lawyer, teacher, fireman, police officer. So you really want to make sure that your activities obviously align with the vocabulary and the target words that you need to learn. Your physical textbook goes hand in hand with your online textbook, so they work together and are very compatible. I want to pause here and say some teachers do not like using the textbook in the classroom. So I want to mention that, but that was not my experience. So I'm just going to tell you what I know. But for elementary school especially, they're going to open up their textbook. They're going to see a picture usually or an image, but then in your online version of the textbook, you can click on it and actually watch a video play out. Usually it's some kind of dialogue and you'll listen and repeat. You'll do that several times before you move on to the next step that's in the textbook. So while they're very interactive, there's so much more material in the online textbook, and that is something that your co-teachers will give you access to when you get to the school. So if you're looking at the textbook and you're thinking, how am I going to get 20 minutes plus out of this? The material actually is a lot more beefed up in the online portion. All right, number 3, what will your lesson actually look like or consist of? So for this, I'm going to share the 5 categories and topics that we follow throughout our lessons. So number 1, starting off, we have fun talk. Number 2, we have real talk. Number 3, we have speak and read. And number 4, we have ready to write. After this, number 5, we're going to review. But essentially what we're focusing on is listening, speaking, reading, writing, and reviewing. So now I'm just gonna get straight into the portion of the video where I actually walk you through the textbook and what this realistically looks like. So most likely you're going to come in on the first day of school and you'll be given your textbooks that'll look like this, and also the teacher's guide that looks like this. And you're gonna have one for each grade. So this is gonna be 5th grade, and this is just the example I'm showing you because I've taught 5th grade before, and this is also what I'm teaching in the future. So first you have the textbook that your whole entire class gets. So this is what your students walk into class with, and then also you have the teacher's guide. Depending on your school, I've had a situation where I need to read the teacher's guide to have the exact script, but I think that's pretty unlikely most of the time. So you can use the teacher's guide for reference, but also you can just know the material that the students are going to be reading in here. So let's open it up and look at chapter 1. So this is lesson number 1. It's going to be different for each lesson, but it'll have it in the corner. This one is titled, Where Are You From? And then just for reference, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in the teacher's guide. This also says lesson 1 right here. It gives you a little opening, get ready, objectives, what you have to do, and then it will get into a fun talk, which I'll talk about in a second, and just give you a script that you can follow. Again, I've only had to do this with one school. Most of the time they give you a lot of freedom, but this is here as a resource if you need it, which can be particularly helpful if you've never taught before and would like to read over what a potential script would look like. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Again, this is lesson number 1. It is titled, Where Are You From? And this has the keywords right here. So there are going to be 6 sections, which I talked about briefly before. So now I'm going to show you what those look like. So lesson number 1 is labeled Fun Talk. What this is an introduction into the vocabulary words. And first you're going to listen to a video. So when there's a major picture like this, it's showing that you're going to watch a dialogue play out. Most of the time, this is the student's first exposure to these words. So you want to let them listen and listen again, and usually ask questions. So this is labeled A. When you listen to the video, you can check up on what you saw, and then go on to B. This is listen and number, so small activity, and then lesson C, play together. Generally, what you will do is half of the class is textbooked, so all of this, which usually takes about only 15 to 20 minutes max, and then down here, play together, that is what you replace with your activity or with your game. So generally, I follow the rule of doing A and B, and then C, I make up my own game that's more interactive, what the textbook would be. Section number 2, this is labeled Real Talk. Real Talk is going to be talk amongst the students. So they're going to ask and they're going to answer each other, as you can see here. A, Real Talk underneath, this is going to be a dialogue with real people instead of characters this time. That's the difference between Fun Talk and Real Talk. Next, you have the students talk together as prompted both in the online textbook and in this textbook. And then on this side, you have play together. So once again, we're following the vague rule of doing A and B, but then replacing C with a fun interactive activity or something that looks like this, but again, you're going to bring it to life in the classroom. Number 3, we're going to have speak and read. So exactly how it sounds, we're going to listen to speech, and then we're also going to begin reading the dialogue. So this is going to be important for them to move on from comprehension of speaking to actually reading in English. So we're going to do part A again. This is going to be filled in from listening online to the audio. And then B, this is going to be read and write. So they're going to practice writing. Generally, when I do speak and read, I also do listen to make a story. So I might only do this once or twice, but these activities go pretty quick. So I'm able to do all of this in about 20-25 minutes. And then I also do an additional activity with this. Next up is number 4. This is called Let's Read. So as indicated, we are going to be reading all of today. So that will be our primary objective and focus. So this is a little blog post. Again, most of this is going to be online textbook that you're going to be able to listen and really see the direction of this lesson. For 5, we're going to have ready to write. And as indicated again, ready to write is going to be all about writing. So by this point, we have listened, we have spoken, and we have read. Now we are going to write. So a lot of times there are matching games, also fill in the blanks for what is incorrect in a sentence so that they're able to conceptualize correct spelling as well. Once again, I do A and B and then replace this with a writing interactive activity. And lastly, number 6, this is a progress check and final check and just means review. So a lot of these won't take a significant amount of time. So you're going to go through, you're going to check these different things. Some lower level students might need help. Higher level students might find this really easy that you can finish it in 10 minutes. So a lot of times I will do a review game that can last 20-25 minutes in class, and that's that's usually pretty helpful. So just to recap what was spoken about earlier, this will be a full class period long. This will be a full class period long. So each number is one class period long. You don't have to get through all of these pages in one class. After this, you're moving on to lesson 2. So that is a full lesson. All right, so I hope that you guys enjoyed that portion of the video. I hope it was helpful to just do a little look through there. And I know this is only one grade, but I really just kind of copy and paste that method, and it's consistent for the grades that you work with. So now outside resources. You've covered half of the class being textbook, but the other half, a solid 20 minutes worth, plus depending on what your actual lesson in the textbook looks like, is going to be activities. So Courtney, how do you find the activities? This is a fantastic question. I remember learning some of these resources at orientation, but having never been a teacher, I didn't really understand how you implemented that in the classroom. So I'm going to list a few websites that I highly recommend and are going to make your life so much easier. This took me about a month or two to actually get into and learn, but again, it makes life and teaching much easier in Korea. So if I can give you these resources now and you can look into it, these will be really essential and helpful. So number 1, Coursera. This is a website specifically meant for native English teachers in Korea, which is really nice. So it's almost set up blog style like, where you can actually look at different lesson plans that people have created in the past. You can take it, you can slightly alter it, or use it directly if you don't have any time in your day, and automatically you have a lesson, which is so nice. So with this specific website, you don't actually have to pay for any kind of subscription. You just simply log on, you have to create an account. But once you log on, what's really special about Coursera is that you can actually go to the grade that you're teaching. So there are a few tabs. So I would click on the elementary school one. I would go through, look at the grades. So let's say 4th grade, and then it's beautiful because then it categorizes it by textbook. So if you're working with multiple textbooks at different schools, if you noted earlier, I was talking about vocabulary and how it's slightly different. What you want to go and do is look at that specific textbook on Coursera. So with Coursera, you can go directly to your grade, you can go directly to your textbook, and then you can get direct lessons actually made, printouts already made by previous teachers. It's teachers helping teachers, and it's just so nice. Again, you can take these ideas, you can alter it, repost it on Coursera to help future teachers out to make these really cool PPTs that are both great for you, but also really helpful for the classroom and successful lessons that have already been done. Number 2, Tay's Teaching Toolkit. So she's actually a YouTuber and she taught in Korea for a while, and she created this amazing website that gives you a bunch of really cool PPTs, so PowerPoint templates, which are really amazing. So Coursera is going to have all the information already in there. And while that can be really great, if you do have the time in your hands and you want to make something really interactive or high graphics, I highly recommend going on this website. I have made so many different games with her. You have things all the way from Harry Potter to like Sonic the Hedgehog type of games. They're so interactive. My kids always love these. And basically it's giving you this blank, as in content-wise, template that you go ahead, you fill in the information, but then the game in itself creates something really magical and beautiful and very interactive for your kids. And it's awesome because sometimes it's compatible with Google Slides and sometimes PowerPoint, but a lot of them are compatible with both, so it works with your teaching method in the classroom. Number 3, Canva. I use Canva for everything. I use Canva so much. You can do Canva Premium. I just have the regular one. I love using this. If you're someone who is creative or you really just enjoy making things again a bit more personalized in your classroom, then I highly recommend Canva. It can make your PowerPoints feel a bit softer. I know that's a strange thing to say, but especially with elementary school, I don't like to flash up a PowerPoint that's just 12-point font, Times New Roman, black, and just simply boring, because that is not going to be what gets the kids excited. But you also don't want something so flashy that it takes away from the content that you're trying to teach. So you want to create this subtle balance, and I found that I'm able to do that with Canva well. I specifically recommend this if you are doing any kind of cultural PowerPoint. So either about your hometown or potentially holidays, your family, pictures of yourself for introduction slides. You're just able to combine a bunch of different mediums and have access to a lot of cool fonts. It's very easy to use and navigate, but it's great for those things. And lastly, usually Google Slides. Of course, you can use PowerPoint, but I found with Google Slides, it's a bit nicer because if you do have a lot of travel schools, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna log on at each of those schools. And I found it easiest to have a Gmail account. This is getting into the little nitty gritty. You can use whatever email you want. But the nice thing about Google Slides is that when you pull it up, it doesn't take as long to download as something like a PowerPoint usually was. And also it saves automatically, which is really nice. All right, so those are all of the specifics. Now I'm going to get into the pro tips. To the parentheses. Number 1, something I wish I would have known, get to know your textbook characters, especially if you're working with elementary school. Most of the time, if you're teaching the fun talk portion, is your characters interact and talk. I found this to be true in multiple textbooks I use. During real talk, we tend to have actual people, hence real talk, with dialogue happening, but with fun talk, it's the animated characters. As a teacher, you want to ask questions about things, so you want to memorize their names. It might seem a little bit silly or insignificant, but I've noticed that when I'm able to engage with my classroom and ask them about specific names, it becomes more personalized. So they're able to build a bit more of a connection around these characters instead of just a he, she situation, which is always helpful. But I have gotten to the classroom multiple times and I look at a character and I have to point and be like, guys, who's this? Come on, you know. And then they tell me and I just fill in the blank there. But it would be really helpful if you memorize the characters' names. Number 2, if you have never taught before, then it's nice to know that you should be replaying the videos probably multiple times. So what I mean by this is the character videos and the fun talk or the real talk dialogue, don't have them so stressed about the content that they're not really understanding the scenario and situation in which the people are interacting in the environment, because that's important. So you want to let them watch it peacefully first. Couple follow-up questions of are you paying attention, and then watch it again. Hopefully they grasp a bit more of what's happening and then they can answer questions. I would say and tell myself, play it at least 2 times, if not 3 times. Number 3, I have found that letting my students write on the board is really fun, both for them and for me. So what I mean by this, every classroom is going to be set up different. Thankfully, I have these screens at the front, these TVs that you can actually draw with certain markers on. At times we'll have something like a crossword puzzle, and then I'll go and I'll give my students markers and they think it's the coolest thing to go up to the board and then start circling the correct answer. And then all of a sudden, everyone's wanting to participate in class. This method is something very specific to me and my students, but as long as you find something that gets them excited, that's a bit different than maybe other classrooms and what their activities are like, sometimes they can get really excited just about the simplest things. So if they feel really cool standing up with a marker and going to the whiteboard, then I want to try and make that happen as much as possible if they're going to be practicing the correct content. And lastly, as much as you can, get familiar with the online textbook, but understanding that this is important before you start teaching will really benefit you, because as long as you know what sections to click on during class, this might seem very straightforward, but the way that it's formatted sometimes isn't. You don't want to be at the front of your classroom and then be trying to do one activity, but you clicked on the wrong link, you clicked on the wrong tab, it's sending you somewhere else. It gets your students confused, you look flustered, it gets you confused. So just know the resources that you're using ahead of time, which might seem obvious, but for the textbooks, especially because they're different at different schools, just become familiar with that as quickly and as much as you possibly can. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. These are just some things that I thought would be helpful to let you guys know, just some small tidbits and pieces of advice. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you are at orientation this week with EPIK, or you're applying for the next cycle, fall 2024, or just in the future, I hope that this was helpful, and good luck to you on your own EPIK journey. So definitely leave a comment down below if you have a specific video that you would like me to make regarding this type of content, and I would love to definitely check all of that out. And I hope that you have the absolute best day of your life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!